For years, I paid for everything at Christmas. Then I saw the group chat. Holiday Parasite, canceled every payment, dropped the receipts in the chat, and went dark. The notification lit up my phone screen at 2:47 a.m. I was lying in bed, unable to sleep after another grueling 12-hour shift at the hospital. My thumb hovered over the screen, squinting at what appeared to be a group chat I didn't recognize. Someone had accidentally added me to Family Reality Check instead of removing me from it. The first message I saw made my blood run cold. Thank God she's covering the turkey again this year. I was not about to drop $200 on that. My sister-in-law Rebecca, right? She's so desperate to be included. She'll pay for anything. It's honestly sad. My brother Marcus. Holiday Parasite strikes again. Christmas tree emoji. Money with wings emoji. My cousin Vanessa. I scrolled up with shaking hands. The chat had been active for 3 years. 3 entire years of my family laughing about how I funded their holidays while they mocked me behind my back. There were screenshots of my Venmo payments with crying, laughing emojis. There were jokes about my nurse salary and how I was too stupid to realize they were using me. My mother had sent a gif of someone throwing money into a fire with a caption, Dolores' Christmas spirit. Dolores, that's me. The family ATM, apparently. My throat tightened as I read message after message. They created an entire betting pool about what I'd pay for next. My aunt had won $50 when I'd offered to cover the hotel rooms for our family trip to Colorado last year. $50. They'd literally profited off my generosity twice. I sat there in the darkness of my studio apartment, the one I could barely afford because I've been sending money home for every holiday, birthday, and emergency my family invented. The apartment I had furnished with secondhand furniture because I just sent my mom $3,000 for her medical bills, that I now realized, scrolling through these messages, had actually funded her cruise with her boyfriend. Should we tell her we're planning Christmas at the cabin this year? She'll totally pay for the rental if we say Mom's heart can't handle the stress of hosting. Genius. Dolores is such a people pleaser. Just mention Mom's health and she'll open her wallet like a trained seal. The messages blurred as tears streamed down my face. Trained seal holiday parasite. Too stupid to realize. I'd been a nurse for 7 years, working overtime, taking extra shifts, skipping vacations. I told myself I was helping my family, being the responsible one, the one who had made it with my stable career. My mother used to introduce me to her friends as my daughter, the nurse with such pride in her voice. I thought she was proud of me. Turns out she was just proud of my direct deposits. The worst message was from my younger sister, Emily, the one I helped put through college. I'd pay for her textbooks, her meal plan, even her sorority dues when she cried about feeling left out. Dell is working another holiday shift this year. More money for us. Maybe I'll finally get that Gucci bag I want since she's covering Christmas dinner and the gifts for Mom and Dad. You're evil, Ilamu. But honestly, she makes it too easy. She volunteers to pay. That's on her. I volunteered because every time I came home, someone would casually mention how hard things were financially. How Dad's truck needed repairs. How Marcus couldn't afford Christmas gifts for his kids. How Grandma's medication was so expensive. I felt guilty for having a steady income when they seemed to struggle. But Marcus had posted Instagram stories from his weekend trip to Vegas 3 days after I'd sent him $800 for his kids' Christmas presents. Rebecca had a new designer purse in every photo. Emily's apartment was filled with expensive furniture and decorations. They weren't struggling. They were spending my money while I ate ramen and picked up extra shifts. I kept scrolling through the chat history. Each message a fresh wound. There were conversations about my weight, my dating life, my boring career stories. Vanessa had written paragraphs about how I'd shown up to her wedding in a dress from Target while everyone else wore designer labels. But what do you expect from someone who spends all her money on other people? La'al, she'd added. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. They mocked me for not spending money on myself while simultaneously exploiting the fact that I didn't spend money on myself. I found messages from last Easter when I'd sent Mom $1,500 for the family dinner. She told me she was hosting 20 people and needed help covering costs. The chat told a different story. Only 8 people coming, but Dolores doesn't need to know that the extra money can cover my Botox appointment. Lawo. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. My mother had used money I'd earned through 12-hour shifts, wiping up bodily fluids, and holding dying patients' hands to inject toxins into her face. Then she'd posted selfies with a caption, "Blessed and grateful for family." There was a whole thread about my last birthday. I turned 32 and spent it alone in my apartment with a grocery store cupcake because I've been working a double shift. I'd posted a single photo on Instagram of the cupcake with a candle captioned, "Another year wiser." The family chat had erupted. "Did you see Dolores' sad birthday post? So pathetic. Maybe if she wasn't working all the time, she'd have friends. She works all the time, so she can send us money. It's called priorities now." Rebecca had sent a gift of someone crying into a cupcake. 15 laugh reacts. I'd worked that double shift because Marcus had called me crying about his electricity being shut off. He'd needed $400 immediately. I picked up the extra shift, sent him the money, and spent my birthday exhausted and alone. His electricity had never been shut off. 2 days after my birthday, he posted about his new gaming PC setup. Top of the line of everything. Easily $2,000 worth of equipment. The pattern was everywhere. Once I started looking, every emergency that had pulled me away from my own life, my own needs, had been fabricated or exaggerated. The crisis would be presented with tears and desperation. I'd send money, and within days, there would be social media posts showing exactly where my paycheck had gone. My aunt's broken furnace in January had actually been working fine. She'd wanted a vacation to Miami. My money had paid for her flights and hotel, while she told me she was bundled up in blankets until the repair guy could come. I found a message from my mother to the group from 2 Christmases ago. Dolores just asked if she could bring someone to Christmas dinner, some guy from her hospital. I told her we didn't have space, LOL. Can't have her distracted from her role as family ATM by some boyfriend. I'd been seeing Derek, a respiratory therapist, for 3 months. I'd been excited to introduce him to my family. When Mom said there wasn't space, I believed her and apologized for imposing. Derek and I had broken up 2 months later. He'd said, "I prioritized my family over our relationship, that I was never available because I was always working extra shifts to send money home." He'd been right, and my family had orchestrated it. There were other messages about other boyfriends, other friends I tried to bring around. My family had systematically isolated me, ensuring I remained alone and devoted to them. The lonelier I was, the more I turned to them for connection. The more I turned to them, the more money flowed their direction. It was psychological warfare disguised as family. I discovered betting pools about my life decisions. When would I get a new car? I was still driving a 15-year-old Honda because every time I saved enough for a down payment, someone had an emergency. Would I ever move out of my sad little apartment? What excuse would work best to get money for the upcoming spring break? They'd weaponize my compassion. Every good quality I possessed had been identified, analyzed, and exploited for profit. The chat was still active. Someone had just sent a message. "Is Dolores coming to Christmas this year? Need to know if we should bother cooking or if she'll just pay for catering again like last year." "Oh, she'll come. Where else would she go? She has no life outside of work and being our personal Santa Claus." My hands stopped shaking. Something cold and sharp settled in my chest, replacing the hurt with crystal clear of fury. They thought I had no life. They thought I was so desperate for their approval that I'd keep funding their lifestyle forever. I opened my laptop and started working. First, I logged into every payment app, every subscription, every account connected to my family. The Hulu account everyone used. Mine. Netflix, mine. The Costco membership my mother's boyfriend used every weekend. I paid for it. The cell phone plan covering Marcus, Rebecca, Emily, and my parents, all in under my name, paid for my account. I'd been covering 6 phone lines for 3 years, over $4,000 in phone bills alone. The Disney Plus subscription my nibblings used, the Spotify family plan, the Amazon Prime account that gave everyone free shipping, the iCloud storage for my mother's 10,000 photos, all mine. Then there were the direct payments. I'd kept meticulous records because I'd filed everything for tax purposes, thinking some of it might count as dependent care or gifts I could document. $12,000 for last year's Christmas. I'd covered the cabin rental, all the food, the gifts, the decorations, even the gas money for everyone's drive up to the mountains. $8,000 for Thanksgiving over the past 3 years combined. $15,000 in emergency loans that were never repaid, car troubles, medical bills, rent assistance, all carefully documented in my spreadsheet, $6,000 for Emily's education expenses, $300 for Marcus's kids' birthday parties and gifts. The list went on and on and on. Over the past 5 years, I'd given my family just over $73,000. The breakdown made me nauseous. $12,000 for last year's Christmas alone, $8,000 for Thanksgiving over 3 years, $15,000 in emergency loans never repaid, $6,000 for Emily's education, $3,500 for Marcus' kids' parties and gifts, $4,200 in phone bills over 3 years, $7,200 in streaming services and subscriptions, $5,800 for insurance payments and warranties, $4,100 in medical emergencies that were actually vacations, $3,200 for mom's subscription boxes over 2 years, $2,900 for the meal kit service for Rebecca, $1,100 for miscellaneous crisis payments, $73,000. I could have bought a house. I could have paid off my student loans. I could have traveled, invested, built a life for myself. Instead, I'd funded their vacations, their luxuries, their comfort, while they called me a parasite in a group chat. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was the parasite, feeding their lives with my money while they drained me dry. I took screenshots of everything. Every message in that group chat, every payment receipt, every text were they to ask for money and promise to pay me back. Then I started canceling. But first, I needed to be strategic. I'd learned from 7 years of nursing that you don't just rip out in 4 without considering the consequences. You plan, you prepare, you make sure the patient can't sue you for malpractice. I created a new email address completely separate from anything my family knew about. Then I systematically changed the contact information on every account, every service, every subscription. I set up 2-factor authentication on everything using my new email and a Google Voice number they'd never seen. Only after every account was secured under my exclusive control did I begin the dismantling. The phone plan was first. 6 lines under my name, costing me $340 monthly. I logged into Verizon and examined the usage. Marcus averaged 47 gigabytes of data per month streaming videos. Rebecca was constantly on social media, racking up hours of screen time on my dime. Emily's line showed she'd been making international calls to her boyfriend, who was studying abroad in France. That explained the $180 in international charges I'd been absorbing for 6 months. My parents' lines were less offensive, but still presumptuous. Dad barely used his phone. Mom, however, had apparently discovered TikTok and was streaming content nonstop. I downloaded all the records, every bill for the past 3 years, every usage report. Then I called Verizon and explained I needed to remove all secondary lines immediately. The representative tried to convince me to just transfer the lines to the other users. No, I said firmly. Disconnect them. They're not authorized to transfer. But ma'am, they'll lose their numbers. Good. The lines would die in exactly 48 hours. I set a calendar reminder to check on that exact moment. Streaming services were simpler, but more satisfying. I logged into Netflix and checked the viewing history. 4 different profiles, none of them mine. Marcus had been binge-watching true crime documentaries. Rebecca favored reality TV about rich housewives, which felt grimly appropriate. Emily watched romantic comedies. Mom had somehow figured out how to watch British baking shows on repeat. I deleted every profile except my own, changed the password, enabled new security settings that would kick off any device currently logged in. Then Hulu, Disney+, HBO Max, Paramount+. I'd been subscribed to 7 different streaming platforms, costing me nearly $100 monthly, and I barely watched any of them because I was always working. Each one got the same treatment. Password changed, devices removed, account secured. The Costco membership was interesting. I logged into my account and found I could see purchase history. My mother had been shopping there twice weekly. The purchases ranged from reasonable groceries to luxury items, a $600 outdoor furniture set, a $300 stand mixer, cases of premium wine, party platters for gatherings I'd never been invited to. Marcus had apparently been buying car supplies, including a full set of winter tires in October. The tires I've been told he couldn't afford, which was why I'd sent him $500 for car repairs. I canceled the membership and requested a prorated refund for the remaining months. $93 came back to me. The iCloud storage was perhaps the pettiest cancellation, but it brought me genuine joy. Mom had been backing up her entire digital life to my 2 terabytes plan. Photos, videos, documents. I downgraded to the free 5 GB plan and watched as the system immediately started sending her notifications that her backup had failed. She'd lose nothing permanently, but she'd have to figure out her own cloud storage. At her age and technical skill level, that would take her weeks of frustration. I pictured her calling Marcus or Emily for help, them realizing I'd cut them off, the dawning horror that their free ride was over. Next came the less obvious but more expensive cancellations. I'd been paying for Marcus's car insurance for the past year. He'd called me panicking about losing coverage, and I'd added his car to my multi-vehicle policy. That was $215 monthly I'd never see again. I called my insurance company and had his vehicle removed, effective immediately. The representative mentioned there might be a gap in his coverage. That's his problem, I said. I've been paying for Emily's gym membership at an upscale fitness center. She told me she needed it for her mental health, but couldn't afford the $89 monthly fee. I'd set it up on autopay and forgotten about it. I called the gym and canceled. No notice period needed since I was the account holder. There was more. So much more. I'd been paying for Mom's subscription boxes. 3 different ones. Monthly deliveries of beauty products, snacks, and books. Total cost $140 monthly. All canceled. I've been covering Rebecca's subscription to a meal kit service because she'd complained about not having time to grocery shop with the kids. That was $240 monthly for pre-portioned ingredients delivered to her door while I ate freezer meals between shifts. Canceled. Dad's roadside assistance plan. The extended warranty I bought for Marcus's TV. Emily's subscription to a meditation app that apparently costs $95 annually. Every automatic payment, every recurring charge, every service I'd set up and forgotten about. I went through 17 months of credit card statements and identified 43 different recurring charges connected to my family. Some were small, $5 monthly subscriptions. Others were substantial, like the $200 monthly contribution I'd been making to what I thought was Grandma's care fund. The group chat had enlightened me about that particular scheme. Grandma was fine. She lived in a subsidized senior community with full health care coverage. The care fund had been Marcus's idea to cover his boat payment. He didn't even let Grandma use the boat. There were me sages about her asking to go out on the lake and him making excuses. By 7 a.m., I canceled or transferred 43 services and subscriptions. My monthly expenses had just dropped by $1,847. Annually, I'd been spending over $22,000 on services for people who called me a parasite. The math was so absurd, I started laughing, then crying, then laughing again until I couldn't breathe properly. I drafted an email to my landlord explaining I wouldn't be renewing my lease after it expired in 3 months. I'd been month to month anyway. Then I started looking at apartments in Portland, 3 states away, where I'd been offered a position at a prestigious hospital last year. I turned it down because my family had guilt-tripped me about moving away. "Who will help us if you leave?" my mother had cried. The job posting was still open. I sent an email to the director expressing renewed interest. By 5 a.m., I'd filed chargebacks on 3 loans that my family had claimed were for medical emergencies, but that I could prove through their social media posts had been spent on entertainment and luxury goods. Credit card fraud is illegal, and lying about medical emergencies to obtain money constitutes fraud. I wasn't pressing charges yet, but I had the documentation ready. The sun was rising when I composed my message for the Family Reality Check group chat. I attached a PDF, 37 pages of receipts, bank statements, and payment records. Every cent I'd given them over 5 years, categorized and dated. My message was simple. Hi, everyone. I see I was accidentally added to this chat. How convenient. Since I'm apparently a holiday parasite, I've decided to stop feeding the hosts. Attached, you'll find documentation of every payment I've made to this family over the past 5 years, totaling $73,249. Consider it my final Christmas gift. The truth about who the real parasites are. All shared services and subscriptions have been canceled effective immediately. The phone plan disconnects in 48 hours. I will not be attending Christmas this year or any year after. I will not be available for emergency loans, holiday funding, or financial support of any kind. For anyone confused about why, scroll up. You spent 3 years making it very clear how you feel about me. I finally believe you. Merry Christmas. Don't contact me again. I hit send and immediately blocked every single family member's number. Then I deleted every social media account I had. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything. I didn't want to see their responses. I didn't want their apologies or their excuses. The thing about going nuclear is that you have to commit completely. No half measures, no looking back. My phone started vibrating within minutes. Unknown numbers trying to call. I'd expected that. I powered it off completely. The hospital administration had offered me extra holiday shifts because so many nurses wanted time off. I'd always been the one to volunteer, telling myself it was better to work than to impose on my family's celebrations. Now I understood I've been convenient to have around only when I came bearing gifts and open wallets. I picked up every available shift from November 1st through January 15th, 75 days of time and a half pay, double time for the actual holidays. With my base salary and overtime, I was looking at roughly $47,000 for 2.5 months of work. I worked, I slept, I worked again. No phone calls, no social media, no family, just work. My coworkers noticed something had changed. I'd always been friendly but somewhat reserved, always rushing off to help my family with something. Now I stayed for after-shift drinks. I joined the hospital's book club. I went to a Thanksgiving potluck at my colleague Jennifer's house and met her family, normal people who didn't calculate everyone's net worth before deciding if they were worth kindness. The weeks between my revelation and Thanksgiving were strange. I existed in a bubble where my old life couldn't touch me. My phone stayed off except for work-related calls on my new number. I created a new email address and forwarded only essential correspondence there. Everything from my old accounts went into a black hole I never checked. At work, I was sharper than I'd been in years. Without the constant mental drain of managing my family's manufactured emergencies, I had cognitive space for my actual job. I caught a medication error before it reached a patient. I noticed a change in a patient's condition that the resident had missed, potentially preventing a stroke. Linda pulled me aside after that one. "Whatever's changed with you," she said, "keep doing it. You've always been good, but lately you've been exceptional." I didn't tell her that exceptional was simply what happened when you stopped being slowly drained of resources and will to live. The first real test came 3 weeks in. I was restocking supplies in the ICU when I heard my name called. Not Dolores Green. Nobody at work knew about the name change yet. Dolores Morrison, my old identity. I turned to find Emily standing in the doorway of the unit, looking small and scared. "You can't be here," I said immediately. "This is a restricted area. Family consultation rooms are on the second floor." "Dolores, please, I just need 5 minutes." "Security," I called out calmly. "Unauthorized person in the ICU." Emily's eyes widened. "Del, come on, I drove 4 hours." A security guard appeared within seconds. Our ICU had tight protocols for a reason. "This person isn't authorized to be here," I told him. "Please escort her out of the hospital." "Dolores, I'm your sister." Emily's voice cracked. "You can't just—" "I don't have a sister," I said, meeting her eyes steadily. "I'm an only child. Please remove her." Emily was crying as security led her away. I felt nothing. No guilt, no sadness, no sympathy. She'd called me stupid while spending the education money I'd worked overtime to give her. She laughed about me being a trained SEAL. 5 minutes of tears, didn't undo 3 years of cruelty. Linda found me in the supply closet 10 minutes later, inventory clipboard in hand, counting 4 bags with mechanical precision. "Want to talk about it?" she asked. "Nothing to talk about," I said. "Someone trying to access a restricted area. Security handled it." "Dolores," she put her hand on my shoulder. "That woman said she was your sister." "I don't have a sister." Linda studied me for a long moment. "Okay," she finally said. "But if you ever do want to talk, my office door is always open. And for what it's worth, whatever happened, I'm proud of how you handled it. Professional, appropriate, no drama." I nodded, not trusting my voice. After she left, I finished my inventory count, logged everything properly, and returned to my patients. Routine, structure, the things that kept me sane. Thanksgiving arrived. Jennifer's invitation had been genuine, and I'd accepted. I showed up with an expensive bottle of wine and a homemade sweet potato casserole, neither of which I could have afforded in my old life. Jennifer's house was warm and chaotic in the best way. Her husband Tom told dad jokes while cooking the turkey. Their 3 kids ran around playing some elaborate game involving a foam sword and a lot of shouting. Jennifer's mother, Carol, sat in the kitchen teaching Jennifer's youngest daughter how to make pie crust from scratch. "You must be Dolores," Carol said, wiping flour-covered hands on her apron. "Jennifer talks about you constantly. The brilliant nurse who never complains about double shifts." "That's me," I said, feeling awkward. Compliments still felt foreign. "Well, we're glad you're here," Carol said warmly. "Jennifer says you're alone for the holidays." There it was, the inevitable question. I prepared for it. "My family and I aren't in contact anymore," I said simply. "Talk situation. Better for everyone that I stepped away." Carol nodded knowingly. "Good for you." Too many people stay in harmful situations because of obligation. Family should make you feel loved, not used. The word used hit differently coming from a stranger. Validation from someone with no skin in the game. Dinner was loud and wonderful. The food was good, but not exceptional, and nobody cared. Tom's turkey was slightly dry. Jennifer had oversalted the green beans, and one of the kids knocked over a glass of cranberry juice. Everyone laughed it off. Carol told a story about the time she'd accidentally served a frozen-in-the-middle turkey to 20 guests. "We ordered pizza," she said, laughing. "Best Thanksgiving ever because it was the year we stopped pretending everything had to be perfect." I thought about my family's Christmases where I'd funded professional catering and elaborate decorations, all to maintain an image of success. Meanwhile, they'd mocked me in their group chat for trying too hard. This casual, imperfect dinner with near strangers was better than any holiday I'd spent with my blood relatives. After dinner, while the kids played board games, Jennifer and I stepped out onto her back porch with coffee. "Thank you for inviting me," I said. "This was really nice." "Thank you for coming," Jennifer replied. "I know it probably feels weird spending holidays with coworkers." "You're more than a coworker," I said, surprising myself with the honesty. "You're a friend, maybe my only real friend." Jennifer was quiet for a moment. "What happened with your family, Del? You don't have to tell me, but I've worked with you for 3 years, and you've changed so much in the past month. You're lighter somehow, like you were carrying something heavy and finally put it down." I told her. Not everything, but the core of it. The group chat, the mockery, the money. Jennifer listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from shock to anger to sadness. $73,000, she repeated when I finished. "Dolores, that's financial abuse. You know that, right?" I hadn't thought about it in those terms. Abuse felt like a strong word. But Jennifer continued. "They manipulated you, lied to you, isolated you, and exploited your kindness for years. That's abuse. The fact that they're family doesn't make it less severe. It makes it worse." Hearing it labeled so clearly did something to me. My eyes burned with tears I refused to shed. "I feel stupid," I admitted, "like I should have seen it sooner." "Con artists target smart people," Jennifer said firmly, "because smart people think they're too smart to be conned. You're not stupid, you're kind. They weaponized your kindness. That's on them, not you." Jennifer's teenage daughter complained about her phone being old. Jennifer told her she could buy a new one when she saved up her allowance. Nobody expected anyone else to fund their wants. It was such a foreign concept that I almost cried into my mashed potatoes. December 24th arrived. I was working a 12-hour shift in the ICU. Around 3 p.m., a woman in her 60s came to the nurse's station looking lost. "I'm trying to find my daughter," she said. "She's a nurse here, Dolores Morrison." I recognized her immediately despite the changes. My mother looked thinner, more drawn. Her hair was styled differently, shorter, but the desperation in her eyes was unmistakable. "I'm sorry," I told her calmly. "There's no one here by that name." It wasn't technically a lie. I'd filed for the name change 2 months ago, and while the legal process wasn't complete, I'd already stopped identifying as Dolores Morrison in every way that mattered. "Please," my mother begged. "I know she works here. I need to talk to her." Security arrived before I had to respond. Apparently, she'd been making a scene in the lobby for an hour. They escorted her out while she screamed my old name. I finished my shift with steady hands. The Portland hospitals offered me the position on January 3rd. Head nurse in their cardiac unit, $40,000, more annually than I'd been making. Signing bonus, relocation assistance. I accepted immediately. By mid-January, my name change was official. Dolores Morrison was legally dead. Dolores Green, my grandmother's maiden name, was born. New driver's license, new nursing license, new everything. I was reborn with documentation to prove it. My apartment in Portland was twice the size of my old studio in a building with a gym and a rooftop garden. I bought new furniture, real furniture, not curb finds and Facebook Marketplace clearance items. I bought art for my walls. I adopted a cat from the local shelter, a gray tabby I named Phoenix. I'd risen from the ashes of who I used to be. My old email address received messages for months. I never opened them. They went to a folder I labeled Dead to Me, that auto-archived everything. But curiosity got the better of me in March. My mother's emails were essay-length guilt trips about family obligation and how cruel I was. Rebecca sent a 2-sentence apology that blamed her behavior on postpartum depression from 4 years ago. Marcus wrote that I'd misunderstood the context of the group chat. They'd been joking. Couldn't I take a joke? Emily's message was different. Short, simple. "You paid for my education and I called you stupid. You're the smartest person I know, and I'm the idiot. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. I've started paying you back. It'll take years, but I'm putting $200 into a savings account every month in your name. I'll send you the details when I have your address. If you never want to speak to me again, I understand, but I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry." I didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. The others could rot, but Emily's message lived in my inbox, a tiny seed of something that might eventually grow into forgiveness. Might, years from now, maybe. One email stood out from the rest, my father's. He'd never been active in the group chat. I'd noticed his name listed, but rarely saw him post. "Dolores, I didn't know about the chat until you sent those screenshots. Your mother showed me her phone, and I saw what they'd all said, what I'd allowed by staying silent when I should have noticed what was happening. You deserved better from all of us, but especially from me. I should have protected you. I filed for divorce last week. I'm living in an apartment now, working with a therapist to understand how I enabled this. I'm not asking for forgiveness or reconciliation. I just wanted you to know that I see what I failed to do, and I'm trying to become someone who wouldn't fail you again, even if you never let me be part of your life. I love you, I'm proud of you, and I'm sorry, Dad." I read that email 3 times before closing my laptop. Some bridges you burn, some bridges burn themselves, and some bridges collapse under the weight of years of foundation cracks you'd been too busy to notice. Spring came to Portland with cherry blossoms and rain. I dated a teacher named Michael who thought my devotion to my career was admirable, not something to exploit. We took cooking classes together. He never asked me to pay for his portion. Jennifer invited me to her family's Easter celebration. Her mother asked about my family, and I told her the truth. I don't have one anymore. She hugged me and said, "You do now, honey." I cried in her bathroom for 10 minutes and then ate 3 helpings of ham. My bank account grew. I paid off my student loans in April, all $32,000 gone in one payment. I stared at the $0 balance and felt lighter than air. In May, I received a cashier's check for $1,000 with a note from Emily. First payment. Many more to come. Your new address was on the court documents for the name change public record. I'm not stalking you, I promise. Just want to make this right. The case number was listed in the county database. I deposited the check, sent back a single text to the number she'd included. Acknowledged. By June, my mother had found my address. I came home to find her sitting outside my building. Security will remove you if I call them, I said, not breaking stride toward the entrance. Dolores, please. That's not my name anymore. You're my daughter. I stopped, turned, looked at her properly for the first time in 6 months. She looked older, smaller somehow. The woman who'd raised me, who'd bandaged my scraped knees and made me chocolate chip pancakes on Sundays, seemed like a stranger wearing a familiar face. Your daughter died when she realized her family saw her as a wallet with legs, I said quietly. You have 60 seconds to leave before I call the police. She left in 45. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt tired. That night, I sent my father a short email. Acknowledged your message. Not ready to talk. Maybe someday. Focus on yourself. Hey, he responded. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. Summer in Portland was beautiful. Michael and I hiked Mount Hood. I took a vacation to Greece, something I'd dreamed about for years. I posted photos on my new private Instagram account that only had 30 followers, all people I'd met in the past year. Nobody asked me to send money. Nobody needed me for anything except my company. It was the most peace I'd ever known. In August, Emily sent another check with a longer note. I got a promotion, sending $500 this month. Told Marcus and Rebecca what I'm doing, and they think I'm stupid for giving you money you don't even need now. That's how I know it's the right thing to do. You deserve better. I'm trying to be better. M. I sent back, proud of your promotion. Use half that money for yourself. I mean it. Her response came an hour later. Only if you promise to let me take you to dinner if you're ever back east. No agenda, just sisters eating overpriced pasta. I didn't promise, but I didn't say no. September brought cooler weather and a realization. I'd rebuilt my entire life in less than a year. New city, new job, new name, new relationships. Everything the old Dolores had been too afraid to reach for because she'd been too busy being everyone's safety net. The new Dolores, Dolores Green, wasn't afraid anymore. I got a tattoo, a phoenix on my shoulder blade, rising from flames. The artist asked about the significance. Rebirth, I said simply. She smiled. Those are the best kind. October arrived with falling leaves and an unexpected package. Inside was a hand-knit scarf in my favorite color, forest green, with a note from my father. Your grandmother taught me to knit before she died. I'm not good at it yet, but I'm trying. Stay warm. No response needed. The scarf was uneven and had a few dropped stitches. It was perfect. I wore it every cold day that fall. The first anniversary of the message, as I'd come to think of it, fell on a random Tuesday. I'd worked the night shift and came home to find another check from Emily. She'd been consistent, never missing a month, and an email from my father with photos of him at a volunteer center serving meals to homeless veterans. Trying to be useful to people who actually need help, his email said. Trying to be someone you could be proud of again someday. I looked at my calendar. Christmas was 8 weeks away. Michael asked if I wanted to spend the holidays with his family in Seattle. Jennifer invited me to her house again. I had options now. People who wanted my presence, not my presence. I chose Jennifer's. Her warmth reminded me of what family was supposed to feel like. On Christmas Eve, I worked a half shift and then went to Jennifer's house for dinner. Her kids performed a chaotic nativity play with the family dog as a very confused sheep. Her husband made terrible jokes. Her mother asked about my cat and showed me photos of her own 3 rescue animals. Nobody asked for money. Nobody needed me to be anything except myself. After dinner, I checked my email. One new message from Emily. Merry Christmas. I'm not expecting a response. Just wanted you to know I think about you every day and I'm still sorry. Still paying back. Still trying. Hope you're happy wherever you are. I wrote back, Merry Christmas, Em. I'm happy. Keep being better. That's enough. Her response was immediate. You responded. Best Christmas gift ever. Love you, sis. I stared at those words. Love you, sis. Part of me wanted to say it back. Part of me wasn't ready. I wrote, talk next year. Maybe, she replied. Maybe is enough. Thank you. I closed my laptop and rejoined the party. Jennifer's daughter was trying to teach the dog to wear a Santa hat. Michael brought me wine and kissed my forehead. Someone started a board game that devolved into cheerful arguing. This was what the holidays were supposed to be. Joy without transaction, love without calculation. A year ago, I'd been the holiday parasite, unknowingly feeding a family that saw me as prey. Now I was just Dolores, free, happy, whole. The best revenge I'd learned wasn't destruction, it was reconstruction. I'd burned down who I was and built someone better from the ashes, and I'd never looked back. Almost never. On New Year's Eve, I received a final message from my father. I know you're not ready. I might never be forgiven, and I've accepted that. But I wanted you to know I'm divorcing your mother. I'm in therapy. I've cut off everyone who was in that chat, and I'm living differently. Not for you, for me. So I can look at myself in the mirror. You deserve a father who protected you. I'm becoming that man, even if it's too late. Happy New Year, sweetheart. I saved that message. Didn't respond. Not yet, but maybe eventually I would. Some relationships can be salvaged, some can't. The trick is knowing which ones deserve the effort. As midnight approached, Michael pulled me close and asked what I wanted for the new year. More of this, I said, gesturing at the life I built. More peace, more joy, more people who love me, for me, not for what I can give them. That's not too much to ask, he said. For the first time in my life, I believed him. The new year arrived with champagne and laughter and hope. I'd paid for everything at Christmas once, holidays, gifts, everyone's happiness except my own. Now I'd paid for my freedom. Best investment I ever made.